Hi, welcome back. I hope you have successfully recreated these token boards. And today we're going to cover on how we can use these token boards, what to do and what not to do. So first up first, we're going to talk about the difference between bribing and rewarding. So for bribing, for example, if let's say you want to work on his sitting behavior while he's working with you on the chair, he actually stood up and started to walk away or run away. And what you did was that you call his name. John, come back. Do you want the sticker? You want the sticker? You got to sit down. That is bribing. So the child comes back, sit down because he is motivated by the sticker, and you immediately reinforce and give him a token. So now, what the child has learned is that, if the intervals of getting rewarded is a bit too long and I feel like I'm not getting rewarded and I just want to get the sticker as soon as possible, all I got to do is to stand up, run away, and you would call me back and give me a token. So that's the behavior that you are actually reinforcing, the running away behavior, instead of being able to sit and prolong the sitting. So what we want to do is to reward. How do we reward? Rewarding is when you actually see the behavior happening. Example, he's already sitting nicely on his sit, and then you call out specifically the behavior and say, "Good sitting, John," and give him a token or pass him a token to give you, to put on. So now he's aware of the behavior that he's being rewarded. And that's the difference between bribing and rewarding. Now we know the difference between bribing and rewarding. I'm going to talk a little bit more about time intervals when rewarding. So there's 4 stages to this, and the first is short intervals. When I say short intervals, it means about 3 seconds after the behavior has onset. For example, so there are 4 different expected behaviors on our reward chart: quiet mouth, hands ready, good sitting, and good looking. And then the reward itself. So usually we do start off with an empty token board, and you would remind the child, "John, look, good quiet, good hands ready, good sitting, good looking," and you get Elmo. But when you're rewarding, you need to be very, very specific of which behavior you're rewarding. So example, if you want to work more on, the goal is to work on his sitting behavior. When you see John sitting really nicely, you said, "Hey John, good sitting." And then you pass him a token to put on the board, or you could put on the board yourself. So this should happen really rapidly because it's only 3 seconds interval. The idea behind it is that the child learns the entire system of how a token board works, so that he will be motivated and be able to work on the expected behavior to achieve the tokens needed to get his reward. So the second tier, once the child has learned the idea of the token board and how it works, then we're going to increase the time interval for rewarding and giving the specific tokens as well. So example, instead of 3 seconds, now I'm going to increase to 1 minute. After 1 minute, if he's still sitting on his seat, then I would say, "Wow, John, good sitting," and then give him a token. So once he has achieved 4, similarly, he gets his reward. Eventually, you want to increase as long as 10 minutes for 1 token, or maybe entire task for 1 token. So the length of the interval timing increases over time so that the child is not reward dependent, and also it helps with prolonging the expected behavior. And third is to randomize the timing intervals. And how do we do that? So let's say at the start we could actually give within the first 10 seconds onset the behavior, and you say, "Hey John, great, hands ready," example, and then you give him the token, and then you wait for the next 10 minutes, then you give the next token. "Oh wow, good quiet mouth." And next you give at about 5 minutes. "Oh wow, good looking at me." And lastly, maybe you could give at the next 5 minutes as well. "Wow, good hands ready," or "good sitting." So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I get bubbles. Yes, so with that, the child is unable to predict when you're going to give him or her the token, and that actually increases and prolong the expected behavior of the child and that you want to see in the child while working on a desk or working with you. Yes, so not being able to predict helps to prolong the behavior itself. Lastly is to fade. Yes, you heard that right, to fade, because we do not want the child to rely solely on rewards for them to be able to perform the behaviors as seen on the above, but to have an intrinsic motivation. So we want to fade from maybe physical rewards to social praises. So example, you could say, "Wow, good looking at me, John, high five," and or like you could give like a little tickle, wiggling his hands, just to give a positive feedback while not having to reinforce with a physical reward. Yeah, so we want to fade that as well, so that eventually when your child moves up to school, is able to perform and generalize these concepts. So now let's talk about placements of your token board. So where do you put this on your child's working desk? You want to put it somewhere that is visible for the child to see. You do not want to work with the child while this is on the floor or this is hidden under a certain paper. What you want to do is that this acts as a visual reminder, a visual aid for your child to be reminded of the expected behaviors when working on a desk. So you want to work on his or her working behavior, and so it can be vertically up. You could actually stick a blue tag and stick it on the wall, the pillar just in front of him, or you could put it on his desk somewhere that he can see it or she can see it. Yep, so that she is constantly reminded. So that's for the placement. Lastly, we're going to talk about rewards, and I have this very common questions that comes in all the times from parents to me, is that what kind of reward should I give my child? The reward has to be exclusive. So that's something that the child can only achieve during the session itself when working with you at the desk or performing a certain task to work on these goals of his expected behaviors, and not outside of the working time. So example, if I were to give a specific type of snack to my child, let's say Hello Panda, I am not going to give my child Hello Panda outside of the session itself, solely because if I am able to get it outside of the session, then I would not have the motivation to want to work for it. If I am able to get it out of the session, I would just, oh, why not? I'll just wait after session and then I will get my reward. I will still get the Hello Panda. And that defeats the entire purpose, and it decreases the motivation for the child to work on the expected behaviors to get the reward itself. So rewards have to be very, very exclusive, only during work time. Secondly, how much to give? And that's a big question. So if I were to give a specific snack, I will break it up into very small pieces. Even that means M&Ms. So M&Ms are really tiny chocolates itself, but I would still break it up into quarters or threes and only give that tiny bit, because if I were to give the entire M&Ms, the child would be very satiated with the M&Ms and would not desire it anymore. So we want to avoid having that kind of problem. Yeah, so a lot of try and error if the child doesn't like a certain thing, and sometimes they might have a little bit of a short attention span towards something that you've introduced, so they might really like it for this session and the next session, and suddenly he is just not motivated anymore. So you have to have more backup reward plans for your child to be able to choose from. So some of my students, I like to give options after they have learned their reward chart. So I would give 2 options so they feel like they have the choice to choose. I will give them something that they like for both, and I'll say, hey John, look, do you want to work for stickers or do you want to work for toy today? Or it could also be, do you want to work for blue bubbles or pink bubbles? yeah, the options are limitless. It's really up to our creativity, and giving a child an option also helps to improve their ability to make decisions. Let's do a short recap of what we've discussed earlier on. Number 1 is to reward and not bribe. Rewarding is when the child is already performing the behavior, then you give the token. Secondly, timing intervals. There's 4 hierarchies for a timing interval: short interval, long, randomize, then fade. So fade, you could fade it and then replace it with social praises. Third, placement of the token board. Remember to place it somewhere that the child can visually see it, as it will act as a visual reminder. We want to reduce our verbal prompts. Number 4, rewards. We're going to find out what kind of rewards really motivate our child. If the child is actually not motivated, then you will see that the token board is not really working, because no matter how much we prompt the child or give the child or try to catch their behaviors, their appropriate behaviors, it's going to be difficult if the child is not motivated by the reward. Yes, so these are the 4 very important tips when working with a token board, and I hope this tutorial really does help you in working with your child. And if you have any more questions, we are here to help you. With that, stay safe and be empowered.